The sun was already dipping behind the emerald hills when Ethan Clark stepped out of his glossy black car and into the cornfield that once defined his world. The same golden light that used to fill him with dreams now filled him with ache. The wind carried the scent of earth and old memories, curling around him like ghosts that refused to fade. A few yards away, a woman in a maroon dress and beige apron knelt among rows of young crops, her braids slipping over one shoulder as she quietly pulled weeds. Time seemed to hold its breath as he watched her, still tending the same land with the same grace. Her name was Meera. 5 years ago, she had been his wife. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet strength of love that refuses to die, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Because what happens next will remind you that some hearts never stop hoping, no matter how much time slips away. Ethan had been gone half a decade. 5 long years spent building a world of glass towers, endless meetings, and ever-growing bank balances. He had everything wealth could offer: prestige, comfort, and control. Yet he had lost the one thing no fortune could replace: peace. Each morning, as his reflection stared back from the marble walls of his penthouse, he saw the emptiness deepen in his own eyes. On the day he signed the divorce papers, Meera had said just one thing: "You're chasing the world, Ethan. I only hope you realize what you're leaving behind before it's too late." Back then, he didn't. He thought love was something patient. Something that would quietly wait for him to return once success was his. But love doesn't wait forever. It either grows beside you, or fades in the silence you leave behind. Meera's life after the separation couldn't have been more different. She stayed in the little farmhouse they'd once planned to expand, working from dawn until dusk to keep it alive. Her only companions were the rustling corn, the songs of rain, and her unyielding spirit. Neighbors often saw her walking barefoot through the fields at sunrise, her maroon dress soaked with dew, her hands scarred from toil, but her eyes calm, like someone who had made peace with both loss and life. When Ethan took another step forward, the crunch of dry grass made her glance up. For a heartbeat, time froze. Her hands stilled in the soil, her lips parted in disbelief. He looked older. Hair neatly cut, shirt crisp white. But his eyes were tired, shadowed by guilt. She rose slowly, brushing dust from her apron, uncertain whether this was real or just a memory playing tricks. 5 years of silence, and suddenly, there he was. Like a ghost returning from regret. Without a word, Ethan opened his car door and retrieved a small wooden box, its edges worn from being held too often. Each step he took toward her was heavy, deliberate, as if afraid to break the fragile stillness between them. When he finally stood before her, the weight of the lost years hung thick in the air. He lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in velvet, was a bundle of papers tied with an old ribbon, and a single silver key resting on top. Meera frowned, confusion flickering in her eyes. Then he spoke, his voice low, trembling. He reminded her of a promise he had once broken, to rebuild her late father's farmhouse, the one destroyed years ago in a storm. Back then, he had abandoned the project for a business trip he'd thought more important. But now, the farmhouse stood again. Rebuilt, furnished. Surrounded by the same tree she and her father had planted together when she was a child. The key was hers. The papers were proof that ownership belonged to her alone. No conditions attached. For a long moment, Meera said nothing. Her eyes shimmered as tears threatened to spill. She looked at the box, then at him. Memories flooding in. Their laughter echoing across these fields, their dreams scribbled on napkins, their quiet mornings over coffee before ambition stole him away. "Why now, Ethan?" she asked softly, her voice steady but sad. He looked toward the distant mountains. "Because I built everything I thought I wanted," he said. "And it all felt empty without the woman who taught me what love really means." Silence enveloped them again. Only the wind whispered through the corn, bending the stalks gently, as if nature itself sighed in forgiveness. Ethan stepped back, unsure if she wanted him to stay. He hadn't come expecting to be forgiven. Some things, he knew, were meant to remain cracked. To remind us of what we almost forgot. But what happened next took him by surprise. Meera placed her hand on the box, then on his wrist. Her touch was soft, certain. She told him forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about setting both hearts free. She couldn't promise to love him again, not after all that silence, but she could offer peace. And sometimes, peace is the most powerful form of love left behind. Something inside Ethan broke, not from pain, but from release. The wall of pride and fear he had built around his heart began to crumble. As Meera turned back to her plants, he noticed her hands tremble, the sunlight catching the tears she refused to wipe away. It wasn't rejection. It was closure. He understood, then, that the gift he brought wasn't the farmhouse. It was the apology he'd never dared to speak. As he walked back to his car, the golden hour bathed the fields in light. He turned once more to see her kneeling among the green shoots, her braid shining like a thread of hope, her straw hat beside her, untouched. For the first time in years, Ethan smiled, not the smile of a man who owned the world, but of one who had finally made peace with it. Sometimes, the most precious thing you can offer isn't wealth, gifts, or grand gestures. It's the courage to face what you broke and to give back what you took for granted. Ethan didn't drive away victorious. He drove away lighter, his heart unclenched, knowing that not every story ends with love. Some end with understanding. And that, too, is a kind of miracle. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Your support helps us bring more emotional, inspiring tales to life, stories that remind us of the beauty in forgiveness and the quiet strength in kindness. Before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe people deserve a second chance if they truly change? Sometimes, the heart that once hurt you is the same one that teaches you what love was always meant to be.